to wholeness. He heals us psychologically. He heals us socially, our relationships, our pasts, our presents, our futures. All the people in our lives, our brokenness can be healed through Jesus. And He heals us socially, the way we interact with our churches. Do you believe Jesus can heal churches?
Yeah.
I sure do, and He does, and I've seen it. And we also, because Jesus is a healer, He also heals our present, right? He heals our future. Death is no longer the last word, am I right? It's only the second to last word now. But it is no longer the last word with eternals. He heals our presence. With our friend, the friend of sinners is our companion. At any moment, at any place. When I'm at work, Jesus, I need you in my present. I need you now. And He heals us in our past. In this particular passage, I believe He visits Peter and the disciples a third time to specifically heal Peter of his past. The premise of this story is that Jesus is alive. Jesus is alive. He visits the disciples again. He is living, breathing, active in our lives. If you have difficulty understanding that or believing that, then this will be probably a difficult passage to experience the fullness of. We see Jesus at daybreak along the Sea of Tiberias or the Sea of Galilee, that very same beach that He met Peter at 3 years ago from this passage. The very same beach where He calls Peter to be fishers of men and women. That very same beach where Jesus begins to make sense to Peter. And He does this for a particular reason. There are many parallels in John's passages. And since I've been swimming in the Gospel of John since I came to Christ, I know that John is a very precise writer. He leaves things that need to be left out. He inserts things that needs to be left in. And every single piece of his literature has a particular value and makes sense. So he meets Simon Peter there. Peter's there with Thomas and Nathanael and some of the other disciples, the son of Zebedee. And he says, he sees Peter, who says to everybody the previous night, I'm going fishing. That is such a human statement, especially after all Peter has been through the past week, where Jesus was captured, crucified, passed away, and was risen up again. And after 3 years of following Jesus around in His ministry, and being sent forth even through the Great Commission to go and make disciples of all nations, a week later, Peter says, I don't know what to do now, I'm going fishing. Don't we all do that? And the funny part is disciples are like, hey, I'm going too. But we all do that. After our encounters with Jesus, after the emotion is gone, the passion is gone, the flame is gone, we go back to what is most comfortable and what is most logical to us. I'm going back to my day job. I'm going back to the life that I've been trying to perfect. I'm going back to my habits and my ways. Knowing that Jesus wanted them to go take His good news and His gospel of His name everywhere, Peter says, I'm going fishing. When the day was now breaking, I'm going fishing, the disciples said, I'll come with you. They went out and got into the boat, and that very night they caught nothing. Parallel to the same experience Peter had when Jesus first sees him. I bet you haven't caught anything all night. I'm told that fishing on the Sea of Galilee is the best at night. Because I guess the fish sleep during the day and they're active at night. But nope, not this night. No fish, no catches. They're sitting out there blind. But when the day was now breaking, Jesus stood on the beach, And yet the disciples did not know Jesus. So Jesus says to them, "Children, you do not have any fish, do you? No. Cast the net on the right-hand side of the boat, and you will find a catch." So they cast it out, and because they caught such a great number, they couldn't even haul it in, all 6 of them. Therefore that disciple who Jesus loved said to Peter, "It is the Lord." Peter didn't realize it. It didn't occur to him that on this very same beach, that stranger on the beachside was that very same Jesus that met him there. John points it out. "I know this man. It's the Lord." When Peter hears this, "It's the Lord," he puts on all of his clothes, as was the custom for the day, and jumps into the sea and runs to his Jesus. But the other disciples came in a little boat later on. They were only 100 yards offshore, and they had to drag in all the fish. When Peter gets there, he sees something that may trigger a very grim and dire experience to him. He sees Jesus there with a charcoal fire. Now, this may seem like a very insignificant piece of the passage, but I think this is the pinnacle of the passage. You see, 3 days ago, as Peter was standing in front of a charcoal fire, as Jesus was whisked away and taken into the Sanhedrin for questioning and eventual imprisonment and eventual death, Peter's in front of a charcoal fire and gets asked 3 questions. One from a slave girl. "Did I not see you with that Galilean in the garden?" His answer, "No, I do not know that man." A Roman soldier. "Did I not see you with the Nazarene, the blasphemer?" Peter answers, "I have no idea what you're talking about. I do not know that man." And a third person, the relative of the man that Peter actually, his ear, he cuts at, the man whose ear Peter actually cuts off, asks him, "I know you. I recognize you. I saw you with that Jesus character." And Peter, once more, for the third and final time, denies Jesus and says, "I do not know that man." And it's so fascinating because we all have those flashbacks in our minds where we have denied Jesus or come across a point where we've done something that we felt, that's it. God's not going to forgive me this time. Right? Mm-hmm. That shame and that bitterness, those burdens that weigh on our shoulders, that's it. God's not going to redeem me from this one, is he? And Peter finds that charcoal fire sitting there, or flaming, right there on that very beach where Peter gets called into discipleship. And what's Jesus doing on it? He's making breakfast. Jesus, a third visit after his resurrection, is still serving. He's still feeding. He's still cooking breakfast for his disciples. Jesus says to them, "Bring some of the fish you caught." Simon Peter went up and drew the net to the land, full of large fish, 153, and although there were so many, the net was not torn. And Jesus says to them, "Come and have breakfast with me." None of the disciples ventured to ask him, "Who are you?" It eventually all made sense to them who that stranger on the beach was. They all knew that it was the Lord. And Jesus came and took the bread and gave it to them, and the fish likewise. And now this, the third time that Jesus was manifested to the disciples after he was raised from the dead. So when they finished breakfast, Jesus says to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" Do you think Peter asked himself, well, why would Jesus ask me this? I just spent 3 years of my life following the guy around. I just spent my whole future in wanting to spread his good news around the world. Why would he ask me this? He must know. He must know that I denied him. Does it go through his mind what that slave girl asked? Peter, do you love me more than these? Do you love me more than your comforted way of life? Do you love me more than your disciples? Than your friends and family? Do you love me more than everything that you've grown accustomed to before you met me and after you met me? Do you love me more than who you are? Jesus asks. Yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Uh-oh. This is where Jesus is going to say, why did you deny me? If you love me so much, why did you forget about me in front of the charcoal fire, in front of the temple? Why did you act like I wasn't there, right? That's what I would say. No, he says, tend my lambs. Jesus asked him a second time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Can you just put yourself in Peter's position? A second time? You're going to ask me again when I just said yes, of course. Do you love me? He asks. In front of that charcoal fire, is he thinking of that Roman soldier who's asking him, how can you say you love this guy? You just said you didn't know him. Says, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. You know it, Lord. You know that I love you. Then shepherd my sheep. He asked him a third time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? And Peter was grieved. He was hurt. He was offended that Jesus asked him for a third time, do you love me? And Peter says to him, Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you. That's where Jesus should have lowered the boom, isn't it? That's where Jesus should have said, 3 times you denied me, buddy. 3 times. You stabbed me in the back. But no. He says, tend my lambs. Tend my lambs. Shepherd my sheep. Tend my lambs. No condemnation in Jesus. There is no condemnation in Jesus. Whatever you have done, whatever threefold denials have occurred in your life, Jesus says, tend my lambs. Shepherd my sheep. Tend my lambs. Truly, truly, I say to you, when you were younger, you used to gird yourself and walk wherever you wish. But when you grow old, you will stretch out your hands, and someone will gird you and bring you where you do not wish to go. Now this he said, signifying by what kind of death he would glorify God. And when he had spoken this, Jesus' last words to Peter, follow me. Just follow me. It is redemption with a positive, increasingly positive twist. Right? When we go to him, when he asks us, do you love me? Do you love me? Kate, Rolf, Norm, Ken, Jay, do you love me? Yes. Now tend my lambs. Now shepherd his flock. Now follow me. And it's almost as if the threefold denial of Peter never happened. Jesus doesn't bring it up once, but he heals it perfectly. So my question to you today is, what is your charcoal fire? What is that point of no return that you've come to that you felt there's no way Jesus would want you back? Because he does. And he does so easily. And he does so lovingly. What is that point in your life that is preventing you from tending the lambs and shepherding the sheep and following him? And I'm sure, I'm only 27 years old, and every day I know the sin of my life and how much I need grace. Every day I know my regrets, and I know the flashbacks in my mind that prevent me from following Jesus wholeheartedly. So what is the charcoal fire in our lives? That we need to meet Jesus. And we need Jesus to holistically save us from him. Let's pray.